How does the cost of living from the Philippines compare to Spain? Jerry asked this question, and I'll run through it. I've put something on the screen. What you got, the pesos bar is basically Philippines, and it's in pesos currency, and Spain's in euros. So pretty easy to look at. First thing is electric costs 4,000 pesos in the Philippines. We have a couple of ACs because we run one upstairs in our apartment, and we run one downstairs in the kids' apartment, because we have two apartments above each other, because the kids stay in the downstairs one with the nanny, while we have one upstairs because I work in the night, so generally it's better for the kids. Water, we pay 300 pesos a month for city water. Gas, about 150. It's mainly just used for cooking. And cable TV, 500 pesos, which is mainly for my father-in-law's sports channels, because I don't actually watch TV. Internet, about 1,000 pesos. And school, which is an expensive one, is about 8,000 pesos. It's a bit more than that because they have things like the UN Day and all the you get involved in these activities that end up costing a few pesos. And then the commute to school costs me, I think it was 100 pesos per day each way. So there's little bits in there that you'd have to add. But I also want to point out that this list is based on a family of 4. So if you were a expat on your own or with a girlfriend, wife, etc., your costs will be lower than this. This is why you would still find the Philippines cheaper, because education, healthcare, etc., can tally up a bill quite quickly in the Philippines. We don't have any rent costs, and we have 0 visa costs because I'm a resident of the Philippines. We are self-insuring in the Philippines. I keep a lump sum in the bank. I'm not discussing my bank details, but I do keep money there because at the end of the day, in the Philippines, you often have to pay up front in the first place, then recoup it from insurance. And I'm like, well, I might as well just pay it, and that's what we do. For example, when my wife had our son, we had 50,000 pesos available for the actual birth, but another 300,000 available if there was an emergency. I'll leave it at that. Self-employment, you don't have in the Philippines as such, so that doesn't really count. Food costs about 8,000 pesos. The food quality between the Philippines and Spain is considerably different. I know, like, if I was buying a reasonable bottle of wine, it could cost me up to 2,000 pesos in the Philippines, and it didn't travel well. And I know some people are going to go, oh, this Australian wine is like only 300 pesos or whatever. I'm trying to give you a comparison here on quality, and I know people are going to go, oh yeah, but Australian wines. Look, I'm just saying from my personal perspective, I prefer better wine. That's as simple as that. I used to go to the Mosel Valley in Germany to buy wine. I'm paying about 200 £200 a bottle for some of the wine I was getting out of the Mosel Valley, just to give you a comparison. Vehicle costs in the Philippines cost me about 3,000 pesos in fuel. I haven't put insurance in there or the other stuff that's associated with the vehicle costs, like maintenance, because they're up and down, but Spain's also all over the place as well. For example, getting the drive shaft sorted in Spain, I was ripped off, but it seems normal here. Paying 700 euros for a job that should cost about 300. Seems that a lot of people get stung with that, which is why I do a lot of maintenance myself. Philippines was exactly the same. A lot of the people are stupid, in the sense that they tell you they can do things they can't purely for the money. You find out eventually, which is why they do these stupid things, because they're then like, oh, I'm so offended you're sacking me for being completely useless. But moving on, European costs. Electric costs us about 80 euros a month. It was about 110, It's about, actually it's lower than that, it's about 70 now. It was 110. We reduced it by 40 by switching the water heater to run for 2 hours a day, more than enough hot water for the family, because it was on 24/7. Water bill costs about €30 a month. Gas bill, there isn't one. Cable TV, we don't watch cable. Internet, €45, rip off for what it is. School costs us €95 for food, because you have to buy the school meals. It's about €4.50 a day. But there's other hidden costs that you find, a lot of excursions and things, so it's hard to actually put a figure on it. Plus, at the start of the year, you also pay some money for books and things. I can't even remember how much we paid. There's another video somewhere, but there's some hidden costs in there. But there's a big difference between the school in the Philippines and the school here. The quality is way above what you're getting in the Philippines for the same sort of money. You got to bear in mind, these are Zoe and Ubi were in a private school in the Philippines. Here they're in a state school, but the state school still has give us some money for this, that, and the other. But I would say the quality of the schooling itself is very, very good. We pay rent here. Now this is where you start to see that the cost of Spain is a little bit higher, because obviously we're paying rent. So if you factored that into your cost of living in the Philippines, it sort of starts to balance out a little bit, because obviously if we're paying rent in the Philippines, then obviously that's going to increase the cost of our living in the Philippines. So we've done the rent. What's next on it? Visas. There is no visa costs. Where things are different here now is there is a medical cost. If you're doing a private medical insurance, you're talking about €30 upwards per person. So you could actually be spending €120 a month on private medical care, because you have to have it. There is no way around it. They expect you to have it to meet their criteria. Where we differ on that is I'm self-employed. As such, the people are covered on my self-employment in Spain, because I'm paying social security, etc. That's covered within my stamp. That's cost me €60 a month. Over the next year, that will slide up to over €200. They start you off on a discounted rate, and it slowly works up. The idea being is that it encourages people to go self-employed, because I would say, I don't know how many people here simply are all cash in hand. And a lot of the time, I can't blame them. There's a lot of costs involved. But from my perspective, the kids are getting a good education. The healthcare is very good, so I don't mind supporting the system. I pay €50 a month for self-employment, which is the accountancy fees. I'm going to look into that myself, because I think I'm being ripped off. I think a lot of this is where people are getting stiffed by other expats, because they don't speak enough Spanish to work the system themselves. But I'll do the legwork. I'll find out how to do it and how to process it, and I'll put it all on YouTube for free. Food costs, we spend about €300 a month. This goes up and down depending what we're doing, but we can increase that. For example, this week we've eaten out because we've been so busy, so there's an extra €60 gone in expenses. But this, if you base it on grocery cost, the Philippines was still 8,000 and Spain is still €300, because the eating out costs vary considerably. So it's very hard to put a number on it, but the groceries themselves will stay about the same. Vehicle costs, I put €50 a month in fuel, and that's a lot more driving than I was doing in the Philippines, let's put it that way. But it's a 2.8 litre. Well, I suppose the vehicles are comparable, because I've got a Pajero 4x4 in the Philippines. It's the same. I know someone's going, oh, it's a Galloper. It's not a Pajero. It's the same vehicle. It's the same engine. It's a different badge. But it's a 3 litre 4x4, 3 litre turbo in the Philippines. It's a 2.8 litre van here in Spain. So the fuel uses are very similar. But that basically brings it out to your Philippines. It's about $450 cost of living. Spain's $960. Now, the first thing I'll say is you don't need to be self-employed in Spain. You don't, I do, because I'm doing the visa process for my wife and kids. A lot of people just don't bother with it. I can transfer my social security payments from the UK to Spain as well. There's a form to do that. I want to leave that alone because I don't want anything being messed up with my entitlements. I've spent enough money on it, and the last thing I want is the UK government to have a loophole not to pay something in the future. So you can transfer some of these costs, but for me, I'd rather short term pay out my own pocket until things balance out. Where things start to make a big difference, like I said, if you add the rent on, you're looking at $450 in the Philippines and €960 euros. You're probably talking what for a good rental? What about 8,000 pesos? So 8,000 pesos. I haven't got a dollar rate off the top of my head. Let me look. Hang on. And you're looking at adding about $150. So that's $600 in the Philippines. 600 euros in the Philippines. Now, there's a lot of costs that aren't in here. The first one is in the Philippines, I find the kids get sick a lot more due to the air quality. Things like asthma and stuff is pretty common. I was talking to Ibiza Steve this week about it because the air quality, I think, affected him when he went over. People generally get affected by the air conditioning in the first week or so in the Philippines due to filters and stuff not being clean, but it's also the fact that the smog and stuff. So there is extra health factors in there. Going to the doctors here costs nothing. We go into the doctors completely free, and a lot of the kids' medication is free. All the vaccines are free. There's a lot of stuff that health related and school related we would pay for in the Philippines. That's where although it's not on this list because the list is a very short list, I can't go, well, this costs this and this costs this. There's a lot of costs in the Philippines that would be slightly higher, and the cost in Spain stays the same. So you've got this sort of creep. What I've got on my Spanish side is some creep going in there at the moment relating to self-employment. The reason it's not really a problem is financially I'm looking at increasing the income anyway. So although my costs have gone up by about 200 euros, the reality is give it another month, I should start being able to increase my income to match that. This is part of where the threshold is for about I think it's 14 or 1600 euros a month. It's achievable. I mean, I'm not being funny. If I go back to the UK and just did 3 months on a single contract, I would actually meet all the criteria for living in Spain. But also long term, I could do that every single year if I wanted. But I'm trying to make some money here rather than having to do that. So you're looking at 960, family of 4, 960 euros a month, and the Philippines 450 euros. Now these are baseline figures. This is what I'm trying to explain. These are the basic costs. If you've got a very young child in the Philippines, you could be spending up to 5,000 pesos a month on vaccines, medication, hospital doctor visits, things like iron and other vitamins for your partner, because obviously there's some deficiencies within the Philippines due to people not eating the right diet sometimes. So there's some hidden figures in there. In Spain, a lot of it is already covered. It's already in there. Medical insurance, for example, you might not have a big bank deposit and could be spending the same, about 30 euros a person in the Philippines. You could be paid more if you're older. So there's a lot of variance in here that can affect the figures, but these are our actual baseline figures. Now, like I said, the rental makes a big difference in the actual costs, because when you start factoring that in, the difference isn't that much, but the quality of life is significantly different. Here we are in La Mata. La Mata's right on the coast. I go this way out of the house, I'm on the beach. I go that way, I've got a natural park. If I go this way, there is another water park and beaches, etc. I go this way. There's no more water parks, beaches and stuff. Fresh air, fresh water, no pollution, etc. It's a very nice environment. Minglanilla has some traffic issues relating to the fumes off vehicles. It's got issues with congestion. It's got issues with people burning rubbish, and this is where you get the health issue problems. Even if you go provincial, there is problems in the Philippines. Mango growers, for example, can be pumping pesticides into the rivers, so there is contamination issues. We don't seem to suffer any of that here in Spain, where we are. I wouldn't say the whole of Spain, because I don't know the whole of Spain. We don't live in the whole of Spain. But this comparison is based on purely figures. Now, if you talk quality of life, it's very, very different, because Spain's sort of up here. Play parks in Spain are everywhere. For kids, there is play parks everywhere. Within a walking distance of the house, we have cycle paths. We've got basketball courts, football courts, sports gymnasiums and stuff. The gyms I think you have to pay for, but the other ones are free. You have no issues of smog in the streets. There's no litter here. We don't have any litter in the street whatsoever. Market day is there, but if you watch, I'll do a video on market day here and you'll see what happens. As soon as that market's gone, the street sweepers arrive. They've got the machines in and they're hygienically washing the streets. They're gathering up all the plastic bags and rubbish that's left, and it's gone. Within a couple of hours, the whole thing, you wouldn't even know the market's been there. It's like a very well organised military machine. Although it's not military, it's just a way of how well organised it is in keeping the place immaculate. There is a big difference in food quality. I know the seafood's good in Spain, the Philippines, but it's also very, very good in Spain. Sacks of rice are cheaper here than they are in the Philippines. Local rice is even cheaper than that. So there's a lot of stuff that it's very hard to compare because the quality is so much better. But also things like bottles of wine. We get bottles of wine from 50 cents upwards. A good bottle of wine, I'd spend about €7 here, because wine's got no real value in Spain because it's everywhere. I mean, we go across the field, it's full of vineyards. It's rows after rows of grapes. So the reality is, it's very, very difficult to compare the two without actually being in both yourself, because I know somebody will pick at the figures and say, "Oh yeah, but you're saying that the Philippines is cheaper." I would say it is cheaper in some ways, but in other ways it's not, because illnesses and stuff. I've got full medical cover. I could get hit by a bus today. It's all covered. I don't have to pay any medical bills. It's all in my self-employment. So from that point of view, that's a big plus. I mean, a huge plus, that people will actually take care of you if you're actually hit in an accident. In the Philippines, it can be a little bit different. Most of the people I know do not have medical insurance, which pretty much sums it up, because I know from my own medical insurance for the Philippines, it's about £1,500 to £2,000 a year. So if you factor that in, you'll get an idea of costs. But there's a lot of things that are worth doing in the Philippines, like going to the dentist. I got my teeth fixed on the front for about, I think it was 20,000 pesos, I think. But at the same time here, it'd be a lot more. So you just got to weigh up. But my personal view is the quality of life in Spain is much, much higher. I would also say that the lifestyle is a lot better, smog-wise and things like that. There's a lot of similarities with the fiestas, the mañana attitude with a lot of stuff, but at the same time, it's better for the kids. We will also say we don't live in an expat community. That's an important thing. But we don't do that in the Philippines either. But the reality is, I don't speak to many English people on a daily basis. In fact, it's probably more of a monthly basis, except for emails, obviously. But the majority of people aren't in this area. They are a bit further inland or in Torrevieja itself. We're a bit further out in the sticks. Well, not in the sticks, on the coast, a bit further up. But at the same time, we like it like that. We've got a proper greengrocer and things like that. It's like a traditional village almost. Well, it is. It's a traditional village. All right, thanks for watching.